Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan, coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. During the Regina Caeli address on Sunday, the Pope announced that the day of prayer for the 16th Ordinary General Assembly of the Synod of Bishops will be held on May the 31st. Marian shrines from around the world will take part in the special day of prayer for the Synod on Synodality. Pope Francis exhorted everyone to seek the protection of the Virgin during this stage of the Synod. Participating Marian sanctuaries include the Fatima Shrine in Portugal, the National Shrine of Our Lady of Częstochowa in Poland, and the Knock Shrine in Ireland. During Sunday's Holy Mass on the Solemnity of Pentecost, the Holy Father also invited believers to invoke the Holy Spirit for world peace. He reiterated that the Holy Spirit is indeed the Creator Spiritus, just as the Church has invoked the third person of the Holy Trinity for centuries. Pope Francis said that the Holy Spirit acts in the world he has made, in the Church and in hearts. He reminded believers that the Holy Spirit is the one who provides harmony to the world by renewing the earth, adding that without the Spirit, the Church is inert, and the faith is just a doctrine and morality becomes a mere duty. In an interview with Spanish-language US television network Telemundo, Pope Francis said peace will be achieved when Russia and Ukraine will be able to speak to each other, either face-to-face or through intermediaries. He said an eventual return by Russia of occupied territories in Ukraine is a political problem to be resolved by both sides. The pontiff has asked the head of the Italian Bishops' Conference, Cardinal Matteo Zuppi of Bologna, to carry out a peace mission to try to end the war. The Pope also offered a quick overview of the reforms carried out during the 10 years of his pontificate. Meanwhile, the autocephalous Orthodox Church of Ukraine has charted history by deciding to celebrate Christmas on December the 25th as per the Gregorian calendar. This decision was taken by the Council of Bishops in an apparent act of defiance towards the Russian Orthodox Church, which still follows the Julian calendar, in which Christmas falls on January the 7th. The body of an African-American nun, which was discovered to be intact 4 years after burial without embalming, is being visited by hundreds of believers every day in the US state of Missouri. The body of Sister Wilhelmina Lancaster of the Benedictines of Mary, Queen of Apostles Monastery is going to be kept for public viewing in a glass sarcophagus after it was exhumed on the 18th of May from the cemetery. The 95-year-old nun died in 2019 after leading a life of prayer and mortification. Her body and her sacred habit were intact when the wooden coffin was opened during exhumation. It is believed a preserved body can be a mark of holiness, but it does not necessarily make a person a candidate for sainthood. The nun, who grew up during the days of racial segregation, joined the Oblates of Divine Providence, but after sweeping changes to religious life in the years following the Second Vatican Council, Sister Wilhelmina's desire to retain the traditional habit and her rediscovery of the traditional Latin Mass and Gregorian chant led her to the Priestly Society of St. Peter at the age of 70 to establish a contemplative congregation rooted in Benedictine spirituality. At 70 years of age, Sister Wilhelmina founded the Benedictine Sisters of Mary, Queen of the Apostles. Pope Francis is urging those in charge of granting access to humanitarian supplies to make it easier to procure aid for those affected by Cyclone Mocha in the Bay of Bengal. During the Regina Caeli prayer on Sunday in the Vatican, the Holy Father said more than 800,000 people in Myanmar and Bangladesh are living in precarious conditions and require assistance. He asked for prayers for the people living on the Myanmar-Bangladesh border who have been hard hit by the cyclone. When Cyclone Mocha made landfall between Kyakpyu Township in Myanmar and Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh on the 14th of May, 41 people were killed and around 700 were injured. According to a study by the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, 5.4 million people in Myanmar have been impacted, with 3.2 billion people in need of humanitarian aid. According to the same assessment, the cyclone affected nearly 2.3 million people in Bangladesh and damaged some 12,000 homes. Incumbent Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan won a mandate on Sunday, which extends his 2 decades in power. According to official results of the just concluded national polls, Mr. Erdogan won 52.1% of votes in the runoff, while his opponent Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu got 47.9%. The opposition was hopeful of toppling Mr. Erdogan after his popularity dived following a cost of living crisis. The result, however, is being seen by some as a mark of approval for his changes in foreign policy and domestic policy. In a speech in the capital city Ankara, the president pledged to leave all disputes behind and unite behind national values. Noted US baseball pitcher Clayton Kershaw of the Los Angeles Dodgers announced on Friday, May the 26th, that the team was relaunching the Christian Faith and Family Day at Dodger Stadium on the 30th of July. The Dodgers also tweeted that it will be a day of worship and invited fans to be a part of it. However, this comes after the team re-invited a notorious anti-Catholic homosexual outfit called the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence for a so-called Pride Night. Earlier this month, the team had to rescind the invitation because of backlash from Catholics. Catholic advocacy outfit Catholic Vote has responded to the most recent announcement of the Dodgers by labelling the Faith Day event as a band-aid to a much larger issue. In a statement, the Catholic outfit said that the Faith and Family event does not balance the decision to honour a fake and perverted group that exists to mock the Catholic religion. They also say this does not diminish the harm and hurt caused by the decision to honour the anti-Catholic organisation. Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone of San Francisco in the United States has signalled that the prosecutor's office is indicating that attacks against Catholic churches can continue with impunity. He made this allegation after a court awarded reduced penalties to the vandals who destroyed a St. Junipero Serra statue in 2020. The prelate said that reducing the penalty against those who demolished the saint's statue from a felony to a misdemeanour has signalled that assaults against Catholic churches and objects can continue without facing severe legal repercussions. The prelate condemned the attacks against churches, saying that this attack would have been labelled a hate crime if it was committed against some other minority or vulnerable group. The incident occurred in October in 2020 when 5 individuals vandalised a statue of the saint on the grounds of St. Raphael Parish by coating it in red spray paint and tearing it off its foundation. The Catholic Aid Agency of the Bishops' Conference of England and Wales has decried the slashing of humanitarian aid to East Africa by the United Kingdom. The Catholic Agency for Overseas Development said that cutting humanitarian aid betrays tens of millions of people on the continent. During the United Nations Pledging Conference on the 24th of May, the UK's International Development Minister revealed a revised humanitarian relief package for countries in East Africa. It scaled down the monetary assistance from £156 million in 2022 to £143 million in 2023. The Catholic Aid Agency is calling for the government to reverse this cut immediately, citing that more than 36 million people are already suffering from hunger and over 21 million need food assistance. Director Christine Allen called the decision a shameful betrayal of the people suffering and said the government is not taking this crisis seriously. The Catholic Diocese of Columbus in the US state of Ohio is going to close down 15 churches as part of a reorganisation of parishes. Bishop Earl Fernandez said that the process is to try and find the best possible solution for the whole Diocese of Columbus, which serves 278,000 Catholics spread across 108 churches in 23 counties of central Ohio. The changes are being carried out because of declining church attendance and fewer priests. There has also been a decline in the population living in rural areas and population shifts in the Columbus area. Despite the closure of churches, however, the bishop said there are signs of hope. There is a large number of Hispanic believers, as well as an influx of French-speaking African Catholics. There are also 15 seminarians in the diocese. The persecution of the Catholic Church in Nicaragua is continuing. In the latest incident, the Sandinista regime has arrested yet another Catholic priest. Father Jaime Ivan Montesinos Sauceda of Matagalpa Diocese was arrested earlier last week while he was driving to Esquipulas. The vicar of San Juan Pablo II parish was arrested by police for alleged acts that undermine the nation's independence and integrity. He will now be brought before a magistrate and tried for sedition. He's the third priest to be arrested within a week. Separately, since May the 26th, the Daniel Ortega regime has also frozen the bank accounts of the 9 Catholic dioceses in the country, including those of Matagalpa. A South Carolina judge has temporarily blocked the state's new abortion restrictions from going into effect just one day after the governor signed them into law. Circuit Judge Clifton Newman temporarily halted the state's new law that bans most abortions when a fetal heartbeat is detected after about 6 weeks of gestation. The ruling now permits a previous law, allowing abortions up to 20 weeks to stay in effect until the state Supreme Court has reviewed the new ban. The Fetal Heartbeat and Protection from Abortion Act was an altered version of earlier anti-abortion legislation ruled unconstitutional by the state Supreme Court earlier this year. Meanwhile, Republican Governor Henry McMaster has submitted an emergency motion asking the state Supreme Court to take up the issue quickly. On May the 28th, the Global Humanitarian Aid Agency of the Catholic Church urged decision-makers to eliminate food waste and provide sustainable solutions to end world poverty as part of World Poverty Day. The yearly event urges all people of goodwill to join forces with organisations throughout the world to raise awareness of those who are hungry and work towards achieving the United Nations goal of zero hunger. In a statement, Caritas Internationalis stated that it stands in solidarity with the global community in support of populations facing unprecedented poverty and hunger. It also said that it is educating local populations about hunger and food security and responding to humanitarian crises and emergencies, particularly in areas and territories where the climate issue is negatively affecting people's ability to produce food. Caritas said it plans to provide additional thoughts on the factors necessary to help address world hunger at the next Bonn Climate Change Conference, which runs from the 5th to the 15th of June. Police in the Canadian city of Calgary are asking for help from the public in identifying a suspect who is alleged to have started a fire at a Catholic church. The suspect set ablaze St. Mary's Cathedral in the western province of Alberta on the 19th of May and reportedly attacked 2 staff members. They also released surveillance photos of the suspect and called on the public to report any information. The incident is being investigated as a possible hate crime. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again tomorrow for more. And do remember, you can always visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.